Welcome to the Westfield, Washington Township Advisory Planning Commission for the 2nd of June, 2025. Staff, could you please confirm the presence of a quorum?
Mr. Bunkelfist?
Present.
Mr. Horke?
Here.
Mr. Kahn?
Here.
Dr. Keen?
Here.
Ms. Carlson? Mr. McCarty?
Here.
Mr. Mooney?
Here.
Mr. Neal?
Present.
And Mr. Woodard. We have a quorum.
Okay, we have a quorum. Thank you very much. There are no items on the agenda to announce any changes to. First action item is the approval of the previous meeting minutes for May 19, 2025. Pleasure of the board. Moved by Dr. Keen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor McCarty. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the staff's review of our rules of procedure. Weston?
Yep, so tonight we have items that are public hearing items, and we have items of business. So for items that require a public hearing, tonight's meeting has the following structure. The department will summarize the petition. Then the petitioner will be given up to 15 minutes to present to the Plan Commission. The president will open a public hearing. Individuals will be given 3 minutes to speak. Those representing a group will be given 5 minutes to speak. Only one member of the group will be given 5 minutes to speak. For efficiency purposes, we ask that those representing a group speak first. The public hearing will be closed when all interested members of the audience have had a chance to be heard and all emails received during the meeting have been provided to the Plan Commission members. The petitioner will then be given 10 minutes to speak, or 10 minutes to respond to comments without interruption. The commission will follow with any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the petition. This may include additional discussion with the petitioner. And then for items of business, the department will summarize the petition and highlight any changes or modifications since the item was last before the Plan Commission. The department will also describe what action, if any, is necessary to be taken. The petitioner will be given up to 15 minutes to present any changes to the petition. The commission will then act upon the petition. And then just wanted to cover some general rules of conduct for this evening. Please do not disrupt the proceedings in any way. If you need to have a private discussion, then we ask that you please quietly exit the room. Please silence your devices at this time. If you must answer them, then please quietly exit the room. If you are attending in person and wish to speak in regard to a petition scheduled for a public hearing, then please line up along the west wall once the public hearing is opened. Please sign in the speaker sheet as you approach the podium to speak. For efficiency purposes, we ask that those representing a group speak first. During your comments, please state your name, address, and to the microphone. And for the record, we ask that you please do not repeat previously stated comments. Your presentation will be timed, and you will be advised when there are approximately 30 seconds remaining. If you are not attending in person, you are welcome to send comments. They should be emailed to planners@westfield.in.gov with a petition name or number included in the subject line. Those comments will be forwarded to the Plan Commission members and the petitioner. We would like to remind everyone to please speak directly into the microphone so your comments can be put onto the record. Also, please mute your microphone when not speaking. If you come to the podium to speak, please ensure that the microphone is on, as indicated by the green light at the base of the microphone. Thank you.
Thank you, Weston. First section on our agenda is the consent agenda. There are 3 items before us today. Are there any comments from staff before we move on this agenda?
We do have 3 items on the consent agenda, the first one being the Village of Chatham Hills. This is a proposed build-rent community located on Chad Hiddle Drive, just north of 191st Street. We also have the Vision Headquarters building addition. This is a building addition to an existing business here in the community. Then we have the Westfield Police Headquarters, which is up for approval as well. All 3 of these are detailed development plan approvals.
Great. Any questions or comments from commissioners? Seeing and hearing none, what is the pleasure of the commission?
Make a motion to approve consent agenda.
Motion by Mr. Bunkelfist. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mooney. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Bunkelfist?
Yes.
Mr. Horke?
Yes.
Mr. Kahn?
Yes.
Dr. Keen?
Yes.
Mr. McCarty?
Yes.
Mr. Mooney?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
And Mr. Woodard? And did you show up at 7:02?
I'm sorry. Let the record reflect that Mr. Woodard was at 7:01.
7:01, okay.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
meant to do that before we pulled the vote. My bad.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, and that consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to our items of business section. First item on that portion of the agenda are the commitments concerning use and development of real estate for the Village at Chatham Hills LLC. I'll turn that over to staff for explanation.
Yep, so I'll go ahead and pull up the exhibit real quick here. So this is a voluntary developer commitment that's being brought forward. This is associated with the recently approved detailed development plan for that build-to-rent community that's proposed on 191st Street. So this voluntary commitment would commit to maintaining the property under one collective ownership. So that meaning there are approximately 145 lots proposed in the detailed development plan that was just approved. This voluntary commitment would require those properties to be maintained under one common ownership. This is a voluntary commitment brought forward by the developer, made to the Plan Commission in conjunction with the detailed development plan. It's up for your consideration tonight. The petitioner is on the line to ask any questions if you have any, but that is a very brief overview of what's being proposed here this evening.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments from commissioners? Seeing and hearing none. Pleasure of the commission. This is, by the way, a motion to approve or to, approve or to deny, just as a note. It's not a recommendation.
Yeah.
Mr. Wood.
Motion to approve the commitment.
Yes, so it would be
that is correct.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the commitment.
Moved by Mr. Woodard. Is there a second?
Do we know enough about this and this type of development? This is my question, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You're welcome to ask that question, especially with the petitioner on the line.
Mm-hmm.
I'll second
Yep.
the motion
Okay.
first, then we can
So we'll take a
Okay.
second
And
from
I can-
Dr. Keene, and we'll open it for discussion.
I can provide a few more comments. So that was Dr. Keene.
Yes, Dr. Keene was the second, and we are in the discussion portion.
Okay, so this property is being platted for 145 lots. It's a single-family use. It's a build-to-rent community. So the city is supportive of this because it maintains the property under one collective ownership. It is a build-to-rent community, so the idea was to maintain it under one collective ownership would be a benefit for the project and for the management of the property overall.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I would echo Weston, really this is a commitment to a property that is already allowed by right at this point.
that's correct. Yeah, the use is permitted on the property. The PUD permits this use on the property.
Mhm.
This is, again, a voluntary commitment brought forward by the developer.
Mhm.
It is not required by any means, but the developer was more than willing to bring this forward as a commitment to the Plan Commission to maintain the property under that one collective ownership.
Okay, I just wanted to understand a little bit more. Thank you for that detail.
Yep.
I'm all about more rental options in the community for especially, different levels of workforce that we need in Westfield, so I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Any further comments or questions from commissioners? Seeing and hearing none, what will be the pleasure of the commission? This is also an approval. I'm sorry, we do. You're right. Thank you, Mr. President Emeritus. Any further discussion? Staff, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Horke,
Yes.
Mr. Khan,
Yes.
Dr. Keene,
Yes.
Mr. McCarty,
Yes.
Mr. Mooney,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Woodard, and Mr. Bunkerfist.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our next item is the Plan Commission Order 25-05, which is to amend the East Side EDA. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank
Floor
you.
is yours.
Thanks. Rachel Baker, Redevelopment Manager. Before you tonight is a resolution to approve the declaratory resolution passed by the RDC. This amends the East Side EDA and establishes the Park and Poplar allocation area. Thank you, Weston, for bringing it up on the screen. So the Park and Poplar project was recently approved. So this resolution establishes a single site allocation area to collect the TIF from the project to repay bonds. And you'll see that the boundaries of the allocation area match those of the project. This is the second step in the four-step process to amend the site EDA and create this allocation area. and this would be a vote for the resolution tonight. So happy to take any questions regarding the economic development area or allocation area.
Questions or comments from commissioners? Seeing and hearing none, what is the pleasure of the commission?
Make a motion to approve Plan Commission Order 2505.
Moved by Mr. Bunkefus. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Woodard. Any further discussion? Staff, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Khan,
Yes.
Dr. Keen,
Yes.
Mr. McCarty,
Yes.
Mr. Mooney,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Woodard, Mr. Bunkefus,
Yes.
and Mr. Horke.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is 2505-PUD-09, the Woods Robinson Briggs PUD Amendment 3. We'll move that to staff for discussion.
Thank you, President, members of the commission. For the record, Weston Rogers with the Community Development Department. The item being presented before you this evening is a proposed amendment to the Woods Robinson Briggs Planned Unit Development District. The subject real estate is roughly 11 acres in size and is generally located northeast of the intersection at, northwest of the intersection at 191st Street and Winter Wheat Lane. The 11-acre real estate is currently located within District 4 of the existing PUD, which permits up to 235 residential lots. This proposed ordinance would permit an additional 35 single-family residential lots to be located in District 4. So I'll go ahead and pull up the concept plan here. In addition, this proposed ordinance would require the property to be developed in substantial conformance with the concept plan that you see here, along with integrating the proposed on-site amenities. Since the previous meeting, the ordinance has been updated to reflect additional landscape buffering requirements along the southern and eastern property perimeters. In addition, the developer is also proposing a zoning commitment that would require 85% of the proposed units on the real estate to be owner-occupied. The remaining 15% could become rental units. This item is eligible for adoption consideration this evening. The petitioner is here this evening, but does not plan to provide a presentation. Both the petitioner and staff are available to answer any questions, should there be any from the commission. Any recommendation that is made tonight, there is that one condition that it includes the developer commitments. Those developer commitments, if the APC were to recommend this, it would go to the council. If the council were to adopt, those developer commitments would go into effect. So the developer commitments for this essentially follow the petition.
Okay.
So,
Thank you very much for that.
Yep.
Questions and comments from commissioners? Mr. McCarty.
Yeah, just to have a explanation, since this is new, since being before us last, for the rental commitments, and just kind of walk us through that a little bit.
Green light's on. Thank you, Mr. President, Commissioner McCarty, or I guess City Council Member McCarty. We listened, I think during our last meeting, that we would be looking into leasing commitments for this property. We worked with our attorney and then certainly shared with Weston our comments and what we're willing to hopefully have you all agree to, as well as the City Council. So at this moment, we're requesting that 15% of our homeowners within this community can be either investor owners, owners who will lease their premises for no less than 1 year, no VRBOs, no Airbnbs. So I think we heard you loud and clear, and we just wanted to hopefully make this commitment to satisfy you all and the City Council.
Thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, I think this covers most of the concerns right now, and you know, the exact number is always up for debate, but at least having something in place is good to have, so that 15%, and then, as you just mentioned, again, with it being in proximity of Grant Park, of not allowing the short-term rentals, so very much appreciated, thank you.
My pleasure.
Further comments or questions? Dr. Keen.
I'm just going to make a comment. I was not in favor of this when it first came because of the increase in density, and I'm still going to vote against this because of the density, not because I'm trying to make it clear. It's not because of the builder. He'd built a fine product. It's been a good developer and good community member. But increased density, the state budget was not kind to the schools, and I'm pretty sure it was not kind to the city. So any increase, I think, puts more of a burden on the community, so I'm just going to vote against the increased density.
Thank you, Dr. Keen. Further comments or questions from commissioners?
I have,
Mr. Buckfist.
I have a question that's, again, not really the purview of this body, but I'm just curious, under the rental and leasing restrictions. So there's a 1-year term, and then after that 1-year term, it can be leased out in 30-day intervals?
I believe that specific, the way we wrote it was for that specific tenant or lessee, yes, 30-day increments.
Okay. So there's still the potential for Grand Park rentals, say somebody comes in and books it for June or July, and it could just be their short term when they feel like it on a weekend, I guess, because they could do a 60-day lease for the summer under that commitment?
Good question. Are you asking that we add that?
This is, again, I'm just more curious. This is not the purview of this body to ask you to add anything in terms of leasing, but I can
share a little bit of light as well. I know that with the baseball teams in Grand Park, there's been a huge issue with them coming from all over various states to come here and play their games and go. There's not many options for them to stay at. And I think this is part of them trying to resolve that. And I don't know if this is just specifically to resolve that, but I know this is one of the items that came up about Grand Park in particular, with all the teams being able to play there.
Okay. In my head, again, I don't really know if this is the place to say it, but in my head, I feel like the minimum I would have liked to see was 6 months. Because again, if we're trying to negate Grand Park traffic, that's kind of where I was in my head. Correct. Yeah, it's just a long-term VRBO at that point. But
The way I understand this is that it has to be the tenant that has lived there for 1 year. And then he could be added on 30 days. So maybe they couldn't move out on time, so they extend the lease. But they're not, once it's been rented out a year, they can't lease it out for 30-day periods. Right? So, and that happens in every apartment complex. Generally, the rate goes up when you get into that
so
scenario.
they could go month to month, but technically, if that lease were to expire, is there a reset? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, that's how it reads.
That makes
in most
sense.
So I would
apartment
read it
leases.
that way.
That makes
It's
complete sense.
Any new tenant, it has to be a year, so this would prevent the short-term.
Love it.
Okay, then strict my comment, then that doesn't apply.
Mike, with good comment. My question, Ed, is what is the mechanism to enforce that? Is that through the association? There's no requirement for the city to enforce it
It's
to the
not the
homeowner
city, it
level,
would be
right?
added to the HOA or the covenants for the neighborhood.
It's in the covenants?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Ed.
Sure,
Yep. Thank you very much.
sure.
Further comments or questions from commissioners?
I would say
Mr.
to the contrary of the point of the density, with 191st Street being a significant thoroughfare and being able to get traffic on, yeah, that is a high density spot to me, where you could put traffic, units close to 31 and be able to get them north and south.
Further comments, questions, discussion? Seeing and hearing none? Any final comments, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. Pleasure of the commission.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 2505-PUD-09.
Do you do so with the developer commitments in tow?
I do.
And that would need to be either a favorable.
Sorry, favorable recommendation.
That's what I meant.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Horkay. Any further discussion? Staff, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Keen,
No?
Mr. McCarty,
Yes.
Mr. Mooney,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Woodard,
Yes.
Mr. Bunkevist,
Yes.
Mr. Horkay,
Yes.
and Mr. Khan.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Oh, sorry, you're back. I can't wait to have you back. Next item on the agenda is the 2505-PUD- I think 11. Osborne Trails PUD Amendment 6. Weston.
Yep. Thank you, President, members of the commission. For the record, Weston Rogers with the Community Development Department. The item presented before you this evening is a proposed amendment to the Osborne Trails Planned Unit Development District. The subject real estate is roughly 25 acres in size and is generally located northeast of the intersection at 191st Street and Horton Road. This is the property that's adjacent to West Fork Whiskey. The proposed ordinance would permit up to 104 townhome dwellings. I'll pull up the concept plan here so we can see that. So the proposed ordinance would permit up to 104 townhome dwellings, require the property to be developed in substantial compliance with the concept plan shown here, and require specific architectural, landscape, open space, and amenity standards for the development of the property, which includes a commercial recreational facility that is located right here. Since the previous meeting, the following items have been updated. The general regulations and development standards language has been further refined and organized for clarity purposes. The maximum building size within the commercial area is noted as 35,000 square feet to accommodate the commercial rec facility. The commercial area architectural design language has been refined and updated to demonstrate better clarity on the proposed design quality and intent. And the landscape buffering has been further defined and clarified via the introduction of Exhibit 6, which is a landscape plan exhibit, which I'll pull up here. So this exhibit just outlines the proposed landscape buffering. There is an intent here to not segment off certain uses within the property, but to rather provide landscape buffering where appropriate. And then I'll also pull up the townhome elevations, which we viewed at the last meeting. And then also I'll pull up the architectural character exhibits, which have been refined to include call-outs and a bit more clarity in those as well. So you'll see here a few additional character exhibits were added, and then some additional clarity was provided to those exhibits. Just wanted to note too that in addition, the developer is proposing a voluntary zoning commitment that would require 85% of the proposed units to be owner occupied. The remaining 15% could become rental units. That is the exact same language as the previous developer commitment that was just discussed. So tonight this item is eligible for adoption consideration. The petitioner is here this evening and plans to provide just a brief presentation on the item. I believe the petitioner is actually virtual tonight. Russell Brown will be joining us virtually. And both the petitioner and staff are available to answer any questions should the commission have any. Thank you.
Very good.
And then Russell, are you online right now?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. For the record, Russell Brown, an attorney with the law firm of Clark Quinn, business address 320 North Meridian Street, Suite 1100 in Indianapolis. I'll start by saying thank you for allowing me to join remotely. I'm in the outfield of the sectional baseball final, so I appreciate being able to do this tonight. Weston covered the changes that have been made and the additional commitment that was offered by the petitioner. Only one item I would point out, there was a question of the previous plan commission about the connection of the trail to the residential neighborhood to the north. That has been added to the concept plan. That was the intention of the developer. You just see it there on the right of the screen. So that was added to the concept plan per one of the requests, questions the commission last month. But otherwise, Weston did a great job as usual for covering the changes that have occurred. But we would appreciate having answered questions, but appreciate your favorable recommendation to the petition tonight.
Thank you.
Subject to the commitment. Subject to the commitment.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Are there questions, comments, discussion from the board? Councilor McCarty.
Just again, would like to echo, thank you for including the similar language for the rental commitment. Much appreciated, especially with these just being townhomes, and I know that's been an issue in certain areas in the community. So trying to be proactive there. And then also just the general updates, the trails of the north, additional architectural exhibits for the entertainment facility, so on and so forth. It's been a long road to get here, and truly appreciate the process this time around and getting it done. So thank you.
Mr. Khan.
I would also like to echo that and say that I really appreciate the trail being included. I think it's a beautiful development. I think it's going to work really well for the area, and I am excited about some of those affordable rental opportunities for the various things that I'm going to keep hammering away on the commission for. But I think it's great, and it'll be great for the area. So very much appreciated for all you've done for this.
Mr. Buckfist.
Echoing my sentiments from early on in this revised process, as somebody who did not vote favorably the last go-around, incredibly excited for this revision, especially now that there's intentionality behind the entertainment use. As somebody who lives in incredibly close proximity, I'm excited to bring my family to this. So thank you for the revisions and thank you for the time you put into it.
Further comments or questions? I'll say mine. This has obviously been a long road. We have been talking about this for a little bit of time, and I'm thankful for the petitioner coming back and working through, obviously, what unfortunately didn't work last time. I think this is, again, greater intentionality, as we've heard. I was for the project last time, but I'm even more so for this project, and so thankful for that. Any further comments? Seeing and hearing none, we would be looking for a recommendation which includes the developer commitments. Pleasure of the board.
Make a motion to council for a favorable recommendation, including the developer commitments.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McCarty, second by Mr. Khan. Any further discussion? Staff, would you please call the roll?
Mr. McCarty?
Yes.
Mr. Mooney?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard? Yes. Mr. Bunkefist?
Yes.
Mr. Horke?
Yes.
Mr. Khan?
Yes.
And Dr. Keen?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. All right, we are moving.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Take care. Next item on our agenda, we're moving into the public hearing portion of our meeting. As we move into this, I know that there will be some folks that will come and speak at the public hearing. For those that may be online that wish to speak, planners at westfield.in.gov, giving you a head start to send in your comments and let us know that you're there. With that, we will move to the first item on our public hearing agenda, that is 2506-PUD-12, which is the Jersey 32 PUD, and I believe we have Lauren Gillingham Teague on deck. Good evening.
That is me. Thank you, members of the commission. Lauren Gillingham Teague, senior planner. I'm here tonight to introduce the Jersey 32 PUD ordinance, generally located at the southeast corner of 32 and Poplar Street. This is a proposed mixed-use development. It will include a mix of multifamily, retail, office space, a couple plazas as shown, and over 500 parking spaces within a structured parking garage. This item was well received by council at their meeting last week. If commission is so inclined, staff requests they vote to waive the workshop tonight, with voting on the recommendation taking place at the July 7th meeting. Brian Simons with Skinder Construction is here and will give a short presentation. Thanks.
Very good. Good evening.
Okay. I'm just going to scroll through here. Okay. Well, good evening, Mr. President, members of the commission. Brian Simons, Skinder Construction, Westfield resident. Excited to be here in front of you tonight. So I wanted to give you a little bit of the background as I presented to council last week. This wasn't a project that was imagined overnight. I don't know how long the road before us was from the previous, but it's been a long road with us. So I wanted to give you a little bit of background as to how we got here. July of 23, Mayor, then Councilman Willis and I had met for lunch. Skinder Construction is a regional construction manager based out of Chicago. I head up our Indiana office. We met for lunch. I told him that I wanted to put my office in Westfield. I live in Westfield. Selfishly, I want to drive a golf cart to the office, which I know is a whole nother conversation. But so he sent us on a little bit of a wild goose chase. Went to all these spots in blue. Eventually landed on this green area, and then shifted our focus to Jersey 32. When my wife and family and I moved to the area, we got off 31 going eastbound on 32, and we drove past downtown, and I said, I think that was downtown Westfield. And she said, well, I missed it. So we felt really strongly about this, not only from a personal standpoint, but from a professional standpoint. I'm not only the developer, we're going to be putting our office headquarters in this location. So zooming out, this is a little more, obviously the view today, and we'll show you some renderings of what that looks like, the view from Rivet, and the view from the new development by Old Town. So a little bit about our design. We had been involved with this since about September of 23 was iteration number 1. I think we're on iteration number 14. I've been meeting with many members of the city administration, excuse me, council, et cetera. Really view this as a partnership, and we want this entry to downtown to be something that we all as residents and our business can be proud of. So currently contemplated a 574 space parking garage, which is approximately 170 spaces overparked to help with our parking shortage downtown. A mixture of retail space, about 43,000 square feet of retail, 15,000 feet of office, a standalone 2-story restaurant on the western side, which we're still contemplating location based on some engineering, and then no more than 225 multifamily units. A view from the roundabout, a potential roundabout view as we go down 32, playing in, and we'll get into it some on the character exhibits, but some water feature playing into the natural kind of feel of downtown. This is looking back to the building on 32, the view potentially from Rivet, and then rooftop looking down from the new development near the park. So some of the character exhibits, so working alongside in the city, we understand there's a historic art initiative underway. We do have space programmed within our development for that, viewing ourselves as a good partner. We want to make sure that we acknowledge and recognize the city's history and space programming for that. This is the retail plaza, again, coming off 32. Water features, some of the playing off the Grand Junction, kind of look and feel, some dry retention, wet retention. Area between the two buildings, so this is kind of the private retail plaza, really an activated space for the many restaurants that we have programmed, you know, bocce ball, outdoor Jenga, you know, kind of stringy light plaza, as we like to call it. This is the passive roof deck, kind of like the chill roof deck for both office and multifamily use. And then lastly, the active roof deck, which this corner of the roof deck overlooks the park. So we feel really, really strongly about some of those views. So wanted to keep it brief for you tonight, but open for questions.
Very good. Before we move to the public hearing, is there anything initial from members of the commission before we move to the public hearing? Seeing none, we'll go through the public hearing and then we'll bring you back up for additional questions. Thank you, sir, for your presentation. This is the portion where our members of the audience will have a chance to have their say, including those online. If you are here to do that, there is the dais here, there is a sign-up sheet. If you please complete that, and then you'll come to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. With that, we will open the first public hearing at 7:33 p.m. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. My name's Melody Jones. I know some of you, but not all of you, so thank you for listening to me. I lived on Mill Street since 1983, and recently, as of last December, moved. My home slot is now where the new restaurant's being built. So I'm currently residing in an apartment at 851 Virginia Rose Avenue, but I will be building a new home still in downtown Westfield. Downtown Westfield's very, very important to me. Raised my kids here, have been involved in a lot of the commissions, city council. I was your park director for 10 years. So I just want to be on the record to say I am thrilled about this. I used to say all the time I've lived in Westfield during all the shabby years, and I'm really excited about coming into the golden age. I think I love Mayor Willis's vision for downtown. I was instrumental in developing Grand Junction Plaza, the Monon, well, many of the parks. And I think, Old Town has put their stamp, or soon to be putting their stamp, on Main Street and Union, and I think this is going to be a gateway into our downtown as you come in from 31. It's much needed. I don't know all the plans, but I commend them for buying into what Westfield can be, and I support the project wholeheartedly. I would be curious as to what the timeline is. I love Old Town, but boy, has that taken a long time to get done. So it would be really nice if 32 and all of these other projects kind of came into fruition at the same time. So I'm in total support. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next on deck. Good evening.
Good evening. Judy Stanley Shuck, 209 West Main Street, Westfield, Indiana. I'm the one that has lived in that home, historical home, since 1948. Anyway, that home is on the National Register of Historic Places and on the State Register of Historic Places. It's a beautiful home. You're all welcome to come see. Anyway, I'm concerned. There is an alley behind me, and to the west of me, there is another alley, one lot down, and I'm concerned that. But I'm mainly concerned that why do we have to have another apartment complex in that little area? We could have some beautiful homes. Like Carmel has some beautiful homes in close to their downtown area and so forth. Yes, we need more people downtown because they've left. Some of them have left because they couldn't and didn't desire the growth and so forth that's happening. But I'm a stubborn Irish woman, and I'm going to stay in Westfield. I've raised 5 children there. I was American mom to 3 Nigerian boys that lived in that home. And I brought the boy next door back from Alabama 26 years ago, and so he lives there now too. Anyway, I want something that attracts downtown. I want it like when we had a grocery store downtown, when we had a hardware downtown, and we had restaurants downtown, and we had the soda shop, and we could talk and walk around and just gather together. I just came from a funeral. Sorry. It was Westfield for some old neighbors that I had. And we gathered together and hugged each other. We haven't seen each other in a long time. We want Westfield back. They'd love to come back here. They'd love to live here again. But anyway, one big concern is traffic. You know, somebody said, oh, well, we only have 1,800 cars and so forth, and we have all the, I know, we have all these, I've been here too long, I know. Okay, so we have all of these cars coming in from these apartment complexes and so forth.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, your time
And
is
we
up.
have cars going through Westfield every day.
If I might, I'm going to extend you 15 seconds to wrap up. I appreciate your comments, but I know that I have to be fair to everyone. But I know this is an emotional topic for you, so I'm going to give you 15 seconds to wrap up your comments, please.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
We got too much traffic in the middle of the night, during the day, every time, all the time. We have traffic, period. But
Oh, thank you for your comments. Next on deck. Good evening.
Good evening. Linda Nass, 1122 East 161st Street. Been involved in Westfield for a long time in a lot of ways, and with these sub-districts that we set up down there and what have you. I'm also a member of the Historical Society for Life and Preservation and all that. So it takes me back to reading the sub-districts out of the comp plan that were worked on for many years and were redone, and implementation plans, putting in many meetings, lots of input. And some of the comments that come to mind now that we're proposing this use are that in the comp plan, the Grand Junction District included the, quote, traditional community values. The term traditional downtown was used repeatedly in the plans and discussions for this sub-district. I want to read some quotes from that district. Quote, downtown's traditional role as the focal point of the community and its collection of historic buildings are primary assets. This sub-district is anticipated to redevelop in a form that is compatible with traditional downtown development. The sub-district should maintain a distinct character that is unique to Westfield. A homey feeling was number one listed. I don't know who thinks that this is homey, but buildings and streets should have character. It's a place where people can and do stop, sit, talk, people watch. A place containing land uses that create the appearance of activity downtown, such as trail-oriented business, bike shops, coffee shops, dry cleaners, market, coffee shops, specialty shops, watering holes, gathering places, restaurants, office uses, encouraged to be on upper stories. And that was repeated more than once in the sub-districts, and it would say that US 31 was reserved for business offices. We didn't really want them in this sub-district, okay? Pedestrian friendly, although you're still gonna have to get in your car to go get your needs, or you're gonna have to set up deliveries because you can't get milk anymore in downtown Westfield, or bread, or a few groceries, and I didn't see any uses here where we might, that were promoted for that. Decorative street lights, I don't know where they go, I didn't see any here. This community has been attractive with the historic vision of family, faith, education, and business. We got the first Carnegie Library in Hamilton County because he had the same values that we did for education. We have parks, we have schools,
30
we have
seconds.
the library, and yet this area doesn't allow any children, and I specifically asked that. And children are the future, and children and families are what make a community and make it thrive. So that is concerning to me. And then how much money have we already spent? I think we've spent about $20 million with the downtown Westfield community, and maybe Mark knows more about this, but how much is this all going to cost us? Because for many years now, even as we did those sub-districts, we have been putting out a lot
Ma'am,
of
your time
money
is up.
to buy land. Thank you. And I know the council asked for the finances, but they weren't given.
I'm gonna
Your
Hope
time
they
is
will
up.
be.
thank you very much for your comments. Greatly
Thank you.
appreciated. Is there anyone else in the gallery that wishes to speak? Staff, are there any online emails, comments? Oh, ma'am, are there any online comments that we need to be aware of? Did receive one? Okay. It's not related to anything we need to do for this public hearing? No. Okay. Understood. So with that, no other items, no one else in the gallery to speak. Therefore, we will close this public hearing at 7:44 p.m. I will now allow our friend to address what you've heard. And then after that, the commission will have its comments and questions.
So I first want to thank the public for their comments, and thank you for hearing us out. To reiterate, I am a Westfield resident. This is extremely important to me and not only my family, but my staff as well. Appreciate Melanie's comment. We like to go fast, so we are not wanting to drag out our project. We are, like I said, the developer, the builder, and ultimately the tenant. So I think there's a tremendous opportunity with downtown, with Park and Poplar and this to really, if you think about it, as my partners and I discussed, the demand in Westfield has been pent up for a long time. In most, if you look at Fishers and Carmel, you're developing one of these per year because that's what the market can support. We've got a tremendous opportunity that in 2 years we can blink and we have a whole new downtown district, which I think is just 2 years of disturbance versus 2, 4, 6 years. So that's the answer on the schedule. Very much from a use standpoint, we've programmed retail. I talked about a 2-story standalone restaurant. We have other retail programmed. We do envision micro retail throughout here as well. So already have interest from a fish market relocating here, having micro retail with potentially salon type usage. So more of your neighborhood type of retail to help complement the maybe the kind of the restaurant retail. As far as office concerned, we have 15,000 square feet of office. It's not office upon office upon office, but it helps keep that blend of usage to support the retail, not only on Jersey, but also on Park throughout the day. So we felt that was an important mix, but not overly officing, if that is a verb, this development. So wasn't sure if there are any other questions for me from the commission.
Questions and comments from my fellow commissioners? Mr. Buckefist.
I'm going to jump right in on this. As a planning commission, we've often lived in this comprehensive plan purgatory recently. I think we all acknowledge that, right? Especially as we start to look at the fringe. And so much like Ambrose on Main, to have this distinct sub-place within the overall planning of the Main Street corridor in that specific district, and to your point, it leads itself to some ambiguity on use and of retail mix and the ability to really deliver meaningful product. Incredibly excited for this, and I think it fits that mold incredibly well. Again, as somebody who joked about purgatory, like seeing the 2016 addendum truly lay out what this is, the preservation and enhancement of the green space along 32, it's just, I think what I said to you is it's a great gateway. It's an incredible gateway to that side of town, and incredibly excited for this, and appreciate your 14 revisions of intentionality to get there.
Mr. McCarty.
First, I'll have my planning commissioner and city councilor hat on. As I mentioned last week, I think that the use fits based upon my prior support with Park and Poplar, Union Square, the CRG project, so on and so forth. Everything that we're trying to do downtown is get people both living, working, and so on and so forth downtown. And this helps accomplish what's already been set forth with that. And overall, again, you coming to Westfield, where you currently already at in technically Westfield, and then furthermore be relocating your headquarters here, I think that further drives the day-to-day traffic, being able to go to support Rivet, Greeks, so on and so forth. So I think it all complements each other very well. Now, taking those hats off and putting just a resident hat on, as I've mentioned to you previously, we've had this dialogue, and I've mentioned it to the mayor and administration as well, that as much as I appreciate the design for the building, I still feel like there needs to be some elements that reflect more of what Westfield is. And just, again, looking upon what Park and Poplar and the other neighboring, the townhomes even across the street, the elements, the materials that they've used, just somehow incorporating that more versus what it is today. And again, we've had this conversation, so you know my thoughts. Maybe peeling it back and go to some prior revisions and using those elements in the one today. But I specifically mentioned that's my resident hat on of just what I would like to see in our downtown, because putting my APC and council hat back on, that doesn't fall within this purview. As a former planning commissioner used to say, Andre Maui, everyone has their own favorite color, own favorite flavor of ice cream. So it'll be different for everyone, but just collectively, this is a very important piece of architecture for our downtown, because it'll outlast us all, and it'll continue to further define what our downtown is. So that's just my comments there. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Dr. Keene.
I'm going to echo, I'm not going to repeat, I'm going to echo Melody's comments. 20 years I worked across the street from where this is going on. I always wondered what was going to happen to this area, and I really like what's going on, and I think you're going to be challenged a little bit architecturally with Park and Poplar at one end, and then you've got the Old Town building that's finished, and you're kind of going to be in between both. So you've got to tie everything together along the south side of 32. With that being said, kind of to the staff, I believe the south side of Jersey, which is a lot of small businesses right now, is supposed to remain as small businesses. And I hope that that is true, because I could see that being a very walkable, old Westfield feel down that area. So fitting this in, but yet in the future, make sure we don't lose some of the individual buildings down, or individual local people downtown, I think is very important. But I do think this fits very nicely between the two. Just tie it in architecturally to make it work right. But I like text, things that are in the SF2 or in the 3 and 2 category as opposed to 1. So the apartments, obviously, there's a demand for them. You wouldn't build them if there wasn't a demand. So more power to you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I also wanted to echo some of the sentiments. I love the green space. I love the thoughtfulness of the layout and how it all kind of works together. I think it's got a lot of good elements that, you know, cohesively work together well to support one another. I do also like your efforts on the micro businesses. I think that walkability factor would be very helpful for a lot of folks, and in the downtown area in particular. My question is just on the parking for the office. How did you work that out? Was that all under the same garage, or, because, you know, honestly, in offices, you have your company and then you've got other guests that you're meeting with or whatnot. How did you, and I'm not here to evaluate it, I'm just generally curious about that.
Excuse me. So this garage, it's a 5-story garage, and there will be, you know, we've done 2 independent parking studies. So one on the developer side, one on the city side. Came to a demand, peak demand of anywhere from 400 to 404 spaces. And that was Saturday evenings at 8 p.m. Specific to us, we're taking upper level. We don't want to, as putting different hats on, as my developer hat, owner hat, I don't want my office taking away from retail demand. So we will have reserved spots, but they would be on the upper floors. As far as guests, you know, we're not a heavy guest focused, you know, we have a lot of folks in, it'd be more for events, in which case we would drive them towards the upper floors as well. Did I answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thanks. I was looking for that breakout of higher level because I was thinking the same thing with it. So yeah, it's thoughtful, and I think it's an exciting development.
Mr. Mooney.
So thinking about this project, where my mind went was parking was important. I think we addressed that. Green space as a very identifiable property coming into the city. I think you've done a nice job talking through the allocation of office and everything, because what I envision this area being is a lot of people living in this area, but there needs to be just restaurants and activity to keep driving. I mean, we're sitting here talking about we need to drive more people into downtown. I think we need to continue to be thoughtful around what we're looking for, especially on sites this large, and I do appreciate several versions to get to this point. But I just think as a group collectively, we just need to keep that in mind as we're seeing large projects like this, where we look back on this 5 years from now, and it's either heavy residential and there's no place to go, so we have a big residential pocket, but they're going elsewhere, which is, I think, what we're trying to avoid. So I think this is a step in the right direction, so appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Woodard.
So the mass of this is really, is a big deal. When you pull into the town, and this is what you're gonna see, I love that. And what's been, over the last, I guess, 4 or 5 months, as we've kind of looked at these downtown projects more, what Victor said, I couldn't agree with more, is how do you still somehow tie the traditional Westfield feel to these buildings to make it, you know, not make it look like we took a building from Chicago and put it in downtown Westfield. And don't get me wrong, I think it's beautiful the way it sits right there, but I think if we can add touches, elements that make it more just community focused, family, or not, sorry, not family, just have a flavor of Westfield, I think that goes a long way, in my opinion.
I'm going to take a stab at it. I appreciate this project, as I was talking, as Mr. Bunkefist noted about this being the gateway. I mean, it really is coming from the west, coming into town. And I'm personally, indifferent's not the word, but obviously there are some projects that this is going to sit in between, as my fellow commissioners have noted. I'm not going to belabor that, maybe looking into their comments. But I think from my perspective, this project has precedent now. I don't call it the Ambrose precedent, but there's plenty that happened prior to that. And this is really starting to fit in with the vision that was cast in, the 2023 election, and, what I believe residents voted for as we're, playing this out. And I also, want to make note that I think the style of downtowns, this is where this is going. I've got a 2-year-old son, and we go to, Carmel Midtown all the time, and I know we don't want to be Carmel, so I don't want to, play into that. But that's I go there all the time and see kids and families and, millennials and anyone, is there enjoying that. And I think that's what downtowns and the style of that feel has become. And so for me, especially as a millennial dad who's got kids that are going to grow up in this system, this is, these kind of things are why we moved here. We talk about traditional Westfield, and we always need to keep, our eye on our past. It's important. We don't just throw that away. But at the same time, we need to move, with the style of the times, and how can we balance both of those things? That's a tough balance. I think we're hearing that right now as we discuss it. And so, I'm incredibly excited for what's coming. I am supportive of this project. Like I said, if my fellow commissioners feel that they would like some tweaks to some of the design, you will leave that to them. I think I'm not indifferent. I'm not sad by what I see. And I'll leave it at that. But thank you for all the work that you've done here, and we're excited to have you soon. Mr. Horke.
I'll take a moment and weigh in too. I'm excited. I appreciate what we've heard already, and think back to what we had tried to do to envision some of the standards for our downtown area and how we had the sub-districts. And we could never have dreamt that we would get to a point where something like this would be a viable option for us. Not just viable, but highly, very predictable that we're ready for this kind of thing now. I think the way it's set back from the roadways on the north and the west will help a lot. Echoing a little bit of the Jersey Street comment that one of us made up here, do need to kind of be sensitive to that, but we really do need people downtown, and this is looking like a great place for a lot of them to get excited to come live here, and I think it's going to serve us well. Also, the comment about, remember what Westfield should have as far as some key elements. A building this size probably can be a little more difficult, but I trust that your design team will be able to make certain, if it's not exactly this, I know that there were some comments from the economic development folks here in the community as well, that you'll reflect all of those, and what ultimately gets to the final, to the end here, will probably be a really high quality, exciting development that I'll be happy to have.
Yeah, and I did fail to comment on one of the comments regarding streetscape, and the steakhouse is going in at the southeast corner of that block. We have worked with the city to get their engineering and their streetscape, and intend to have that streetscape continue through the north side of Jersey on our development. And if there are no other comments, I will leave you, as some of you are talking it, when we moved here, we have a tradition. My kids go to, high school and middle school, so 9th and 7th grade, which that happened quickly. But we have a tradition on the last day of school for my parents, who are retired, 70, and my kids to go out to eat, and then they would go get ice cream. We have nowhere to do that here. You know, we would go down to Savor and we'd eat and we'd have a nice meal, and then we would send the kids at this age, they just walk down the street, down Main Street, and go to whether Nitrogen Place or the other place down there, Rita's, I think. And we see that type of feel here where it's multi-generational. You can all enjoy it and feeling truly part of the neighborhood. And I don't want to go to Carmel anymore for that. So 2 years from now, we're hoping to do that here. So appreciate your consideration.
Further comments or questions from commissioners?
I just want to say I'm also good where the design's at, but I totally appreciate my commissioner's comments, and, you know, something would be fine, but I love the direction of where it's going. Thank you.
Mr. McCarty.
And just to jump back in on that note, I'd be in favor of us forgoing the workshop. Just, again, similar to other projects in the past, things have been more nuanced massage between forgoing the workshop and the actual vote. So, you know, we can still have that open dialogue over the next month and just see what it comes to be come the actual vote. But, yeah, in favor of forgoing the workshop tonight.
Seeing and hearing no further comments or discussion, we do have a request to waive the workshop. What is the pleasure of the commission?
Make a motion to waive workshop.
Motion by Mr. Bunkevis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Khan. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. McCarty?
Yes.
Mr. Mooney? Yes. Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard? Yes. Mr. Bunkevis?
Yes.
Mr. Horke?
Yes.
Mr. Khan?
Yes.
Dr. Keen?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Kevin?
Yeah, before we move on, since this is not going to workshop, and I think Victor was alluding to this, sounds like there's still some thought and discussion wanted to be given around architectural design and elements. I guess I would challenge you to be very specific about what that means to you. If we're not going to mention that tonight, which is fine, we do have a couple weeks to receive those comments. You just please email those to Lauren, and we'll disseminate out to the petitioner appropriately and work through that. But if you could funnel those through Lauren, that would be great. But yeah, just be as clear and as specific as you can. Provide examples, whatever we need to do. But you know, it's hard to say, you know, we're not meeting traditional, you know, architecture. What does that mean, right? I mean, we can't. We have to be a little more intentional about those comments. So, part one. Part two, in answer to your question, Dr. Keen, south side of Jersey Street is planned to kind of remain as it is currently going. You know, adaptive reuse of the south side of Jersey, just like we're seeing on both sides of Park Street. So that will continue. That's it.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is the final public hearing of the evening, 2506-PUD-13, Trailside Business Center, PUD. And we will kick that over to Weston Rogers.
Yep, thank you, President, members of the Commission. For the record, Weston Rogers with the Community Development Department. The item being presented before you this evening is the proposed Trailside Business Center Planned Unit Development District. The subject real estate is just over 26 acres in size. It's generally located at 947 West State Road 32. You can see here highlighted in yellow. This proposal would permit the development of a flex industrial business park on the property. The ordinance would require the site to be developed in substantial compliance with the concept site plan and the architectural elevations provided. So here's the concept site plan here. 4 buildings, interior, loading and unloading areas, perimeter landscaping, a trailhead amenity area here, future vehicular access to the west, and then access off of State Road 32 to the north. So as I mentioned, this ordinance would require the site to be developed in substantial compliance with this concept plan and the architectural elevations that are included here as well. Here's the trailhead amenity. Here is the front of the buildings on the screen there. In addition, the trailhead amenity along the Midland Trace Trail would also be required to be developed as part of this proposal. Tonight, this item is scheduled for a public hearing. The petition was noticed and advertised, and staff has received no public comments to date on the project. The petitioner plans to gather Plan Commission feedback this evening and then revise the ordinance accordingly before returning to the Plan Commission for a recommendation at a future meeting. If APC members are comfortable with the state of the amendment request following the public hearing, staff would concur with the APC's decision to waive the workshop requirement for this item. The petitioner is here this evening and plans to provide a brief presentation on the matter. Both the petitioner and staff are available to answer any questions should there be any for the commission. So thank you.
Very good. And while you come to the podium, again, those online, planners at westfield.in.gov, get to make your voice heard. Get ready to do that here shortly. Mr. Skelton.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the Plan Commission. For the record, my name is Matt Skelton with Churchill and Antrim, with offices at 116 North Union Street here in town. With me this evening from my team, Lisa Claghorn towards the back, and Chip Barnes with I3 Investors, our developer. You did a very thorough job, Weston, but I'll just try to highlight or emphasize a few things here. I think your staff report accurately points out that the property today is zoned open industrial, which I won't read through all of those uses, but those are the most intensive kinds of uses that your zoning ordinance would permit. They include things like heavy manufacturing, steel fabrication, things of that nature. The good news is we're not doing any of that. We are proposing a trailside business center, which is a much less intensive, clean businesses that are all done within the buildings. I think the words flex industrial was used to describe this, but I'd say heavy on the business center. It's with the restrictions and uses, it's hardly an industrial complex, really. We had a neighbor meeting on May 21st. We had 5 of our neighbors join us. They seemed happy to learn that we were not going to be proposing any heavy industrial uses like some of the other nearby uses to the east. There's the NDOT salt barn and the Westfield steel, and there's a brick manufacturer there. And so if you'll look at the concept plan here, these buildings are designed carefully so that all the active delivery spaces are really internal to the site between the buildings. And the neighbors were satisfied with that as well. They had some apprehensions at first, thinking it might be more of what they have, and this is certainly not that. The architectural elevations that Weston had previously had up on the screen they are high requirements, and we tried to take the guesswork out of this one. So we are committing to what is before you. You have all the elevations, all of the renderings before you. These architectural elevations and the site design are the work of many, many months of working with not only the planning staff, but the economic development team, trying to come up with an optimum plan for this site. The site is intensely landscaped as well, as you'll notice on the concept plan. The couple of highlights, through our discussions with the city administration, we actually were able to create a north-south pedestrian parkway, if you will, that connects the 32 Greenway to the Midland Trace Trail area. The trail side amenity area includes several amenities, not the least of which is a communal lawn space that is seen there. It's buffered with heavy landscaping all the way around it. It will include a 16 by 24 shade structure, and all this is detailed in your PUD. Several 4-seater tables, like park grade 4-seater tables, picnic tables, park benches, trash receptacles, bike racks, and a bicycle repair station. There's a lot of detail. I would say probably about 80% of your PUD is probably spec sheets that we intend to use for our materials. And we have spent some time with looking through your park specifications to understand what those are. We did have our city council introduction last Tuesday. We were asked to consider incorporating a maximum building height in the PUD ordinance. Right now it defaults to 60 feet, which is normal for an industrial type of underlying zoning. Really, in order to accommodate the inside clearance, we only need 35 feet. So we're, between now and when you see this again, we would incorporate a 35-foot building height limitation, which is actually, I looked it up today, it's the same as your AGSF1 and SF2 districts. So that concludes my remarks. We're happy to address your questions either now or after the public hearing, and we thank you for your consideration this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any initial comments or questions before we get to the public hearing portion?
Just real quick, to kind of piggyback off of the presentation, either Mr. Skelton or Wes, could you address the language regarding the distribution element?
Yeah, so we coordinated with the petitioner on the permitted uses for the property. So originally, all permitted uses within the underlying enclosed industrial district would have been permitted on the property. We coordinated as a staff and with the petitioner to evaluate those uses and to develop a use list that really fulfilled the vision for this property. One of the items that we discussed pretty heavily was warehousing and distribution operations. So as part of this ordinance that you see here, warehousing and distribution operations would only be permitted as an ancillary use to an otherwise permitted business center use, which is defined in the PUD. So that is mentioned pretty specifically in the PUD what would and would not be permitted on the property.
Yeah, it is certainly not their intention to host a distribution center. That's not what this is.
All right, any further comments or questions? If not, we will open the public hearing. If you are here to speak on this matter, there is a clipboard there on the side of the dais. Please come, sign your name and information, and then you'll have 3 minutes to speak. If you start with your name and address, that would be greatly appreciated. Again, anyone online, planners@westfield.in.gov. This public hearing is open at 8:12 p.m.
Hi,
Good evening, ma'am.
I am part of the Sonoma neighborhood, and I've been here for 2 years. The first year I was here, I rented at 950 Retford Drive, and then liked it so well, I bought the house next door. Retford Drive is the one part of the neighborhood that is going to back up. I mean, this development is going to back up to our neighborhood. And I think the rest of Sonoma is pretty safe, but I would have never bought the house next door had I known that this was going to be an industrial business park, but right behind us. We have great evergreen trees that kind of block the field as it is now, but this is, I don't know how much landscaping that they could put in that would buffer that. But I'm really disappointed, and no, I would have never bought the house had I known this was going to go in.
Can you please state your name and address for the record, please? Thank you.
Lisa Welker at 950 Redford Drive.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your comments. Is there anyone else in the gallery?
All right, Linda Nass, 1122 East 161st Street. I appreciate what she says because I've been in many zonings with those same concerns of what's by me and around me. But what I can say about this that I like to see and that they've changed the height of the building to 35 feet because we backed up onto 60 feet before and we got it down to 35. The uses that they've changed are a very good idea because nobody wants to live behind OI. I live behind EI. And we had to go to a lot of meetings to get it organized to where it's livable. So I just want to say I'm in favor of this going from OI to this business center. I don't think it's probably going to get any better than that. I like that it's not just another chicken joint or a tire place as a separate buildings. I like that it's a little business center where maybe people have more than one place to go to, but you know, the parking on the outside and then trucks going on the inside. I hope that they do something where crossing from the Midland 232 is safe, whether it be bikes or pedestrians, but I think this is clearly an improvement over OI. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further members of the gallery wish to address us? Anyone online wish to have their comments heard?
Yeah, no emails.
Very good. With that, we will close this public hearing at 8:15 p.m. Mr. Skelton, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate the public being willing to hang out to the end of the meeting to share their comments. That's not always the greatest thing, but we appreciate the feedback. I just would like to offer up that of the possible build-out scenarios for this piece of property, I don't know if I could conjure up one that would be of a lesser impact to folks nearby. I mean, I guess leaving it a field, but it's not zoned for that. It's been planned for very intense either retail or very intense industrial for decades. So, and we did try to be very thoughtful in coming up with the design and the types of users that end up. And this is not the only project that I3 Investors has, but there's heavy on medical related businesses. There's biotech opportunities, there's light manufacturing, maybe light assembly, but it's heavy on the office in the front with a little warehouse in the back. That's typically what it is.
Very good, thank you. I'll jump right in. I have one question for you. The pedestrian / biking path, I think my only note would be, I'm curious because it appears that in both locations, which the parking lot crosses on both, I guess all three, on both ends, and then the center portion looks like there's, a crossing. That's right. I'm looking at that correctly, right? That center street. That's the extension of the path, right, where people will.
Good evening, Chip
bike.
Barnes.
Hi.
Hey.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we work very hard with economic development and staff just to make sure the accessibility to this and the trail was in place here. So you'll see, obviously, like they call it, the parallel park that go down the middle. I think are you referencing the red dotted line on this?
No,
Okay.
I am in the center.
Yes.
Yeah, right there. Yep. Oh, yeah, I didn't know it was red. I'm sorry if that's what you're talking about. Yes.
Okay.
No, what I'm referencing is I want to be cautious. I know this isn't necessarily, I guess, maybe particular our purview, but with the trees there, and if cars are crossing and people are biking and zooming and running and walking, that there's sufficient ability to see what's coming down that trail. I don't know what those trees are like. Obviously, they're just little dots, and they'll look differently certainly than they look before us today. But that three crossings in that short span with being cars, potentially, I guess I don't know what kind of equipment they might move things into these, light manufacturing or warehouses or what have you, and ensuring that there's proper visibility, since that's going to be encouraged to be some sort of pedestrian use as part of the trail, is my comment on that.
We're happy to work with staff and kind of create a crosswalk environment there.
Yeah.
I think is or other recommendations of how we could,
just increase visibility.
Yeah, keep pedestrians safe. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Public Works does have the crosswalk standards.
Perfect.
Typically the piano keys, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
They will evaluate it for signage and lighting and that sort of thing.
Great.
But as part of this design, there was a request to actually pinch down these pedestrian crossings. So all the green space in there, it really prevents it from being a free-for-all with the traffic and the deliveries.
Right.
So
Okay.
that'll help kind of concentrate
Yeah.
that that condition there.
And my further comment, it's not a question, so just a comment just for in general. I think this is obviously a very challenging spot because you've got homes and you have 32, and this is obviously very important to the lifeblood of Westfield. And I think that the intentional work here to make this, I know I don't want to sound condescending, blend in as much as possible to what you can do between 32 and this residence. I think you guys did incredibly well. I almost wish we could change the term of light or flex industrial to something softer, because hearing what I hear, that's a scary word. And if I lived right there, I think I'd have questions about it too. And so I greatly appreciate the explanation of that, and I hope that has satisfied as many people as you can satisfy in this process. And I appreciate the homeowner that is here and affected. And hopefully this will not. Hopefully this will surpass your expectations and be better than you believe it will be right now. But that's just a comment. I'm not looking for an answer, except for Weston. Yes.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention too the elevations along the south there will be the same elevations as facing 32. So you'll have a primary facade, if you will, facing the south and facing the north. So just wanted to make note of that too. And to your point about using the term flex industrial, that's really why the petitioner agreed to define their use as business center uses, just to make sure that it's accurately being communicated what the vision is for here. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you for hitting that so hard, especially I'm sure the neighborhood meeting and other items. Dr. Keene.
I just have a question about access. Is the only way into and out of this development 32?
It is, yeah. It's between Ditch and Spring Mill, and there's no road to access.
So there's a right turn in, a right turn out. Is that the access?
So the middle drive will be a right turn, right in, right out, and then the far east side will be a full turn access.
There's a stoplight intersection there already?
There's a traffic study that'll be conducted there to see when there will be justified.
Another stoplight.
Yeah.
So
or a roundabout. They've actually talked to us about a roundabout, right?
There's nothing planned for access to this eventually, maybe off of Ditch Road or something with the next development that would come?
My understanding is that much of the NDOT focus right now is on the east side of 31, but it is under evaluation right now, for this area.
And I think to respond to your item directly, the economic development team and planning team asked us to provide for an extension. So that's why the detention pond along the western property line it's not constant, the whole property line. It allows opportunity for a connection to the west, when and if that develops.
Further comments? Mr. Khan? Oh.
I just wanted to say, I think that it's echo President in saying that you blended, well. I would be interested to see how that tree line in the back. It seems like you've layered it, which is great, and anything you could do to, further protect the visibility from the residents in the neighborhood would be great. But from what I understand, this is an office space that has a warehouse behind it, like a mini warehouse, right? So you have office space in the front and you have a warehouse right there and the trailer pulls up. Is that correct?
In the area between the buildings.
Correct. And I think I see our economic development director in the audience. Well, I just gave you a big title. It's fine. No.
Don't tell Janelle.
I was like,
while she's coming up, I'll highlight too, along that corridor, there are two or three, in some cases, including the evergreens south of the trail
right.
that were mentioned. I mean, there's like 3 or 4 layers of plantings, including the landscaping in front of the buildings, 2 layers around the trail amenity area, and then you have the evergreens as well on the south side of the trail, which I believe are privately owned by the folks to the south.
Thank you.
They're there and they're mature.
Thank you for the clarification. Yeah, this is like a hybrid office space model, but she's more qualified to speak about it than I am.
Hi, Claire Jelinas with the City of Westfield's Economic Development Department. I'm not the director, I'm the Economic Development Strategist. We are definitely supportive of this project. I think our letter was included in the supplemental documents for this. One thing that is really critical in the market right now is speed. And right now, we just do not have a lot of, vertical buildings for me to provide clients to view, to tour, and to move in effectively and efficiently. And so this project will help alleviate some of those constraints that we're seeing from an economic development standpoint for, more industrial-based or warehouse-based with office space clients. We just don't have a lot of options for that use. And so I think this is a really great opportunity. One thing I do want to know, last year we attracted Portal Diabetes. They are a medical device technology firm, and they moved into South Park. And one piece of information that they shared with us as to why they chose that location is because they have access to the trail. And so their employees are able to use that amenity, during their lunch breaks and after hours. And so I think that'll be a really key, driver as to why a lot of people choose to locate in this area too.
Awesome. So that's what I was just kind of better said. But I think it focuses on a sector of small business that can grow into something more. They're past the initial startup, but they're just getting their feet under them and ready to run, but they need this platform to kind of take off from. And so I think it's a great project for Westfield, and I'm excited about it.
Thank you. Mr. Woodard.
One of the things that I thought of, and everybody that's been up and down the Monon in downtown Carmel, this reminds me of like Gradle Drive area. If you remember, there was some commercial units that were there, and they were all actually rear facing, and if given the choice, I would build a house across the street from that to be on the trail. I do see these huge boxes and think, gosh, I don't want that near my house. So I completely understand where you're coming from. I think the question in play here is that what they're actually approved for, that land right now, is way worse than what I think this option is. I do have a couple questions that I think is important. What are are there any restrictions on delivery times internally into this area, or is this because it looks, best I can tell, might not be a warehouse or a distribution center, but there's 44 loading docks or something like that back there. Are there any restrictions whatsoever?
At this point, there's not, it's how do you police that a little bit from delivery times. Just to give you a little background on this project, it's really designed as a high-end industrial flex project. Right now, you guys have in Westfield, there's plenty of 2,000 to 8,000 square foot spaces, and then you get into North Point where you get 50,000 to 200,000 square feet. You really don't have anywhere to grow your entrepreneurial business from 2,000 or 5,000 square feet, and you need to go into 15,000 or 20,000 square feet. That product doesn't exist here. We've really tried to upgrade this to kind of bring in a higher end business use. If you guys have ever walked through or been through Saxony, to give you an idea, they've attracted, Next Spine, Paxil, which is an oncology company, GE Healthcare, Helmer Scientific, Zevacor Molecule. So you get these, the intent is to bring in these higher uses that can use the office up front, an upgraded image on the project. So it's not designed, it's not gonna be tall enough to be, or deep enough or wide enough to be really a distribution center here, right?
Are we gonna take this to discussion after this, to our workshop?
My understanding is that staff has noted that they would be approving of us moving it past workshop, but it would not be approved tonight, is the position. Is that adequate?
That's correct, yeah.
Thank you.
If APC is comfortable with waiving the workshop, we're supportive of that. And then the petitioner would return likely at the next meeting for a recommendation. If there's any comments, though, I would just encourage those to be discussed now.
If there are self-imposed restrictions that would not be injurious, like damaging to the businesses, that make sense, I think that would be an interesting thing that maybe could take some of the burden off the adjacent homeowners. And I'm not saying that there is, just.
Sure. And I think the item that Weston mentioned in the PUD today, the uses are significantly restricted.
Yeah.
So all the really heavy ones are no longer permitted. They're not what this project aspires to be anyway. But the comment was, we received a comment about not wanting to make sure we didn't end up with just Amazon moving in and taking over the whole project. Well, that by instituting the restriction that where distribution can only be an ancillary component of a primary use. I mean, every business may have a little bit of distribution, but it could be stamps, you know? I mean, who knows? Yeah. But I'm just saying it can't be the primary use. A distribution like a trucking center cannot be a permitted, it's not a permitted use here.
Well, so that's awesome. Then things go fuzzy for me is when I look at the back of this building and it's just bay doors across the whole back.
Well, and that's why we would carefully arrange them so even if there were a decent amount of off-hour deliveries, which we do not anticipate, I mean, it's designed in a way that you wouldn't even know it.
Because it's internal.
Yeah.
So I've toured a place like this in Noblesville, and you know all the businesses that have come in there, they're not 24-hour places where they run stuff like that. It's just not that type of business, from my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong, but from my understanding, it's just not that type of business. These are like 9-to-5s. They take their deliveries during the daytime and they're gone, you know, by the evening. Now maybe they might burn the midnight oil in the office, but as far as deliveries go, I've not seen any activity in other practices. I wish I could remember the name of it, but I did go on a tour and ask that specific question, and that's the type of clients they have.
Spunkovist.
And Chris, I would say too, you know, if our goal has been for a while the eventual diversification of the tax base, to put constraints on potential businesses that could help diversify that tax base before we're even out of the ground, I feel like it could be counterintuitive to the goal of the diversification. Just my opinion on the matter, right? I hear what you're saying. But to your point too, kind of like you may have 44 doors or 30 doors or whatever it is. Not everybody's going to use their doors either, right? And so to be able to have ample marketability, as I think what Claire was echoing, right? The ability for us to go to anybody at any point and say, look at this space, we are lacking inventory, please come, right?
No, I understand.
And so,
I get the marketability.
Yeah.
I think this is a great project. Don't get me wrong, just because I have
the
questions,
residential,
right?
but yeah, agreed.
But I also think if we have an opportunity here to, we've got 48 residents there within
but
9 Iron.
The developer also had the opportunity to put in a very, very egregious industrial use that could have very well been 24 hours a day, and we would have no say over the matter either, right?
Well, just because that's bad doesn't mean we should accept.
No, I don't
kinda
disagree.
bad.
I don't disagree, right?
Right.
But anyway, my question was understanding that this is a need, and this is not really for you, it's more for staff and for UDO Queen Lauren over here. As we're staring at all of this and thinking about the clear need in our own market for this, is this business use, this business center use, something that we are going to adopt in a more holistic approach? Do you view this as one-off? What is the implementation of having the very specific subset of the EI zoning district? And that can be offline, out of respect for everybody else's time, but just curious if that's a broader thought as we start to think of this as a market that's budding, right?
Yeah, that's a conversation that needs to continue. I think my initial thought is let's get through the comp plan update and see what the comp plan says we need in terms of additional areas like this, and then go from there. And if we feel like we need to develop additional districts or standards to address that better, that's the direction I think we'll want to go. But hard to sit here today and answer that. But yeah, I think we need to continue the conversation.
Mr. McCarty.
Yeah, sorry. I'll just echo my comments from last week's city council meeting, and then also just for the general knowledge for the board as I'm sharing those comments, is that I lived on Retford Drive for a little over 4 years, 1018 Retford Drive, and as an aside, it's one of my worst mistakes of my life ever selling it, considering what it's worth now. But Just saying that I understand what it's like to live right here on the Midland. And on the topic of, I'll kind of go out over here, on the topic of the use, I do agree that it's difficult to kind of formulate the different uses that could be here. Currently today, it's OI, and yes, this is absolutely a better use than what would be OI. In comparison to what might potentially go here versus what is proposed, it would be either businesses that we already have on 32, fast food, retail, so on and so forth, or the opposite direction it would go would be townhomes. So, it's kind of, is that what we really want on State Road 32, which is a main corridor for business, being residential? So it's difficult to have this kind of transitional piece between State Road 32 and residential. What exactly do we want here? So that's, again, just subjective in nature. But then talking about the outsides first, issue that we don't necessarily control, and going back to Dr. Keene's point, State Road 32, the in-out here is very tricky. And again, being very familiar with the traffic here between Spring Mill and Ditch Road, it's only gotten worse over the last several years. The last time that the west side of State Road 32 received improvements was between 31 and Spring Mill, and that was 15 years ago. And Weston alluded to this and mentioned it previously. Unfortunately, NDOT does not have any plans to improve this side of State Road 32, west of Spring Mill, for at least the next 10 years. Their priority is going to be the east side, so as we see today, the downtown portion of Westfield, and then once that's complete, another $30 million endeavor between East Street and Westfield all the way into Noblesville, improving all of those intersections, turning them from stoplights to roundabouts, so on and so forth with those improvements. So it's unfortunate that, again, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place here, that being able to get development, but what comes first, chicken or the egg? Do we get the development or do we get the improvements? And just, again, unfortunately, to beat it home, over the next 10 years, there won't be improvements. So that's something we can't really control. What we can control, I would say, would be Midland. And once more, with my experience living right there on the Midland, being able to step out to it, I'm just on my own island, I would say, of disagreeing about the trailhead. I think the connection aspect is fine because, yeah, sure, employees being able to walk on the Midland, it's a great amenity for our community. But making it a destinational trailhead, I just don't see this being the right place for it. I said just as much in our meetings as well as at council last week. So whether it be the golf cart parking or so forth, just being able to tone it down, that's what I would be in favor of, but I understand that my opinion might be contrary to others on that topic. So, but again, just to conclude, taking into consideration all the new traffic activity, pedestrian activity, so on and so forth, that the Retford Drive neighbors will have. So, thank you.
Thank you. And we have thoughtfully received your comments and understand them. We're just trying to reconcile the requests and requirements of a lot of different groups, and this is kind of where we landed.
Can I ask one last question? Yeah. Are there 1,000 car parking spots here?
We can get back with you before the next meeting. How's that?
Do you have further questions, Mr. Wood? That was your question. I just want to make sure you didn't have any follow-up. Thank you. Mr. Mooney.
Hey, thanks, guys. So I've got family that lives pretty close to this development, so I've been monitoring
sure.
what happens with this for years, and I've lived here for a long time. So I do appreciate all the work along the trail. I think there's a lot of thoughtfulness, the buffering and all that. My only question, so I'm very excited, supportive. If you were to exit left, so you're going west on 32, that's going to be a tough exit, right? Do you, and I'm sure there's been a lot of thought in this, do you feel like there's enough of a buffer for visibility purposes to be able to exit? And I'm just going off, I'm looking at the same concept plan that you've got pulled up.
First of all, this is not a fully engineered plan, so anything that I tell you is based on this plan.
Yeah.
Okay. Secondly, I need to clarify what you're asking. I'm not.
So if you were to, so if we're facing due north.
It'd be the east. It would be the east entrance is the full entrance.
Yeah.
So what's your question?
My only thought is, if you're trying to cross 32 and cross going the other direction, that's going to be could be tough depending on traffic pattern, right?
I mean, yeah, depending on traffic levels.
Yeah.
yes.
I would just like to see any detail or thoughts, or you feel you've got it addressed, just there's enough buffering for visibility purposes. I travel that corridor quite often.
So I don't know if this is addressing your question or not, but with every development plan at a road intersection, we do have site visibility requirements where things like vertical things like trees and signs cannot be located within a certain, triangle essentially that's formed at the intersection. And those vary depending on the, geometry of the road and those sorts of things. So that's something that we're always already checking.
Okay.
If that's what you're asking. If site visibility from
Yeah, site
people
visibility. This is
leaving
the first one that
site?
we've seen for a while that's actually had new ingress egress onto 32.
Yeah.
I feel like this goes along with Weston and Mike's walkability, visibility too, right? Like when it's time for detailed development plan, engineering, and Board of Works, and everybody else to say, let's do it, right? You would hope.
Yeah.
The one thing to note is that the eastern exit is the closest to the center point between Spring Mill and Ditch. So we did intentionally kind of do that to get it away from the other stoplights there. And then also that will be an access point for the neighboring property to the east as well.
And it provides an opportunity to line up. Once they figure out whether it's a light or a roundabout or whatever, it's that opportunity.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So to confirm, just curious, you said it'll be an access point, shared access for the property to the east. Is that contemplated at the center of the property, or where would that? I know it's preliminary, but is that where it's contemplated?
Well, it's the midpoint between the two roads, and so we've given we'll give the access to the property to the east, so they could use that as an access point to State Road 32.
I guess my question is just what depth from 32 will that access be for them? Do you know that or no?
And not until they give us a
Understood.
development plan.
Oh, just one last point, as Mr. Mooney was speaking about just overall traffic, it reminded me that it would be very much so appreciated as whatever is decided, whether it be, which would be great, a roundabout, but most likely a stoplight here, for it to happen congruently, because I would just add a point that the stoplight at Ditch and 32, it took about 2.5 years between the extension of Ditch Road being built and the stoplight being put in. So it'll definitely be difficult to have this additional, not just right in, right out, but left as well, without having that stoplight. So.
Yeah, initially, we'll do a traffic study with NDOT, obviously, to see what they want to see on State Road 32 as far as access, but I'm guessing here, but there's probably not the traffic counts to justify a light there until the north side of the property, north side of 32 would develop. And that's, again, the reason we've kind of centered that is to help the north side line up with that road in the future.
Agreed. I think that would be a conversation with NDOT as that purview word comes to mind. But I think reminding everybody, Dr. King made actually a good point that majority of these trucks are going to go to the right because of 31 going up and down. So, to access the rest of the city, some may go to the left, but majority by far are going to go to the right for that 31. I just wanted to notate that. I'm taking his point. He actually made it.
I guess I would think that though there could be 65 is the other direction, 421.
Yeah.
It depends on where you're going. I
But again,
suppose.
Depends on where you're going. But again, not our concern.
Correct.
Right, our concern.
NDOT will very clearly tell them
Yes.
what they want.
Right. Further discussion. Seeing and hearing none. It was a lengthy discussion. Are you all complete with your comments?
Yeah, I feel like we're in a good place, yes.
Okay. So the request from petitioner is that we consider waiving the workshop. What is the pleasure of the commission?
Make a
Move the-
motion
Yeah.
to waive the workshop for 2506 PUD 13 Trailside Business Center.
Motion by Mr. Khan. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Horkay. Any further discussion? Staff, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Mooney,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Woodard,
No.
Mr. Bunkerfist,
Yes.
Mr. Horkay,
Yes.
Mr. Khan,
Yes.
Dr. Keen,
Yes.
and Mr. McCarty.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. We will see you at the next meeting. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
No other items for public hearing. We'll move, we have one continued item, 2504-PUD-04, Town Road Crossing, which we'll see future meeting. Moving to our reports and comments section. Plan Commission members to each other. Any comments or seeing and hearing none? City Council Liaison, Councilor McCarty.
Yes, so jump in here. So our first item at our council meeting last week, I'll just read what I wrote in my update, because it just very special for me and for our community as well. There was a special recognition in honor of Paul Hicks, who passed away in the beginning of this year, back in January. He was the father of Jim Hicks, who owns White House Donuts. So after his 33 years of impact to our community, the mayor, administration, and council, we all agreed that it's a good idea to declare this upcoming Friday, which is National Donut Day, as Paul Hicks Day in Westfield. So pretty special to recognize a servant for our community. Has made lots of memories for people going to pick up their donuts. Then under new business, we had Resolution 25-129, expands that established economic revitalization area in North Point to include the parcel that was under Ordinance 2526 that we approved earlier. Ordinance 2534, which was the Jersey 32 PUD. Ordinance 2535, which was the Trailside Business Center, again, addressing both of those this evening. And then Ordinance 2536 amends the 2024 salary ordinance for a $50 stipend to the fire and police merit commissions, and that is all. Thank you.
Any questions for Councilor McCarty? Seeing and hearing none. Board of Zoning Appeals Liaison, Dr. Keen.
We meet next week.
Very good. We look forward to your future report. Plat Committee, Mr. Horkay.
We have not met since the last meeting, and you'll be highly disappointed to know that there's no items of business for next week either.
Oh,
So
man.
no upcoming meeting.
Okay. Community Development Department, any words of wisdom?
Just to wrap up, we had the last item, the Jersey 32. I mean, there sounded like there were still a couple of comments lingering. So if we could get, again, your feedback. And Lauren, I'm going to put you on the spot. By when would we like to have their feedback? This is not something that we're normally in the rhythm of doing. So I want to make sure we're allowing for adequate time for processing here, but either end of the week, end of next week.
So this is coming back July 7th. Probably a couple weeks.
Okay.
Let's say
We do have a
probably
fifth Monday, that kind of.
Let's make sure we set a deadline for
Yeah,
ourselves.
let's say June 20th. That's a Friday. That will give myself
We
and the
still need to
applicant.
coordinate with the petitioner.
By next Monday.
Yeah, that's 2 weeks to coordinate with the petitioner.
Okay.
I think that the 20th.
Do it right away, you'll forget about it.
That's
Is there
what
five-
Dr. King.
I'm
let's
gonna,
just say the
okay,
9th.
yeah, I think I'm gonna set a deadline. Just close of business on the 9th of June. If you have comments related to Jersey, I almost called it Jersey Shore, Jersey 32, please strike that from the record. Please make sure you get that to Lauren Gillingham Teague
I
as soon
guess
as possible.
likewise, if there are still any outstanding comments or questions about the Trailside projects, we'll give a same deadline.
Very good.
That's it for me. Thanks.
Very good. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor McCarty,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Khan. I'm giving it to him. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 8:48 p.m.
I'm going to stop recording this very quick.